Welcome to Abundance. You guessed it, a podcast dedicated to all things surrounding dance. I am Kristen.
And I am Hannah, and we are two best friends who are brought together by this art form.
Please join us in 5, 6, 7, 8.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to part 2 of our college series. Today, we're going to jump into what it's like to be a college student and all of the different things that you can get involved with in and outside of campus life. Kristen, how are you today?
I'm doing well, Hannah. I'm excited to kind of round this out today. We have given you guys kind of lots of bits of wisdom throughout our podcast so far because we clearly are passionate about college dance programs. But I'm excited today to kind of focus a little bit more on some of the different niche opportunities that we took advantage of or knew were available during our time. So that way you can hopefully take advantage of all that's offered as well when you're a college dance major.
Yeah, so we're going to give you a lot of little tips and things to help you achieve success now and into your future.
All right, Hannah, let's take off. Let's start with free stuff. I personally love free stuff, whether it's the smallest little thing to something bigger like a workshop or masterclass. So, when you are attending college, you are already paying a boatload of money to be there. So, you should surely take advantage of everything that is free and available to you.
Yeah, and as a college student, you might be saying to yourself, "Oh, do I have to? I'm tired today or I just don't feel like it." But even when you do start to feel that way, I would definitely get yourself to the studio and take those classes or workshops because it will really benefit you in the long run.
Yeah, that's such a good point, Hannah. It can be a drag sometimes. I know as freshmen, we were very eager, I feel like, to take advantage of all these opportunities. But as you progress throughout your 4 years, it becomes a little bit more challenging to motivate yourself when you're already swamped with so much work or spending so many days and hours in the studios to begin with to want to go in on that extra Saturday or Sunday. But just a few examples of things that were offered for free for us at Mercyhurst and are likely offered at most other universities. We had different workshops and master classes. Every Saturday, we had free classes offered to us. These were taught by either faculty members, sometimes guest faculty were brought in, or even occasionally some of our peers taught these classes. We had a section for non-majors and for majors. So anyone really from the Mercyhurst community could come in and take a class, but then we did have one that was specialized towards the dance majors and more advanced. Like I said, I think, Hannah, like we were a lot more eager to take these our freshman year. And then from there, it became harder. But I encourage you to try to find a balance with taking advantage of these different things. So definitely acknowledge when you need a rest day. Sometimes we need rest days, and you shouldn't necessarily go in and push through that extra Saturday class, especially if you're dealing with an injury or you're just so fatigued because you're more likely to injure yourself when you're fatigued. But also being honest with yourself and asking, could I really benefit from this class? Is there something that I'm really trying to improve upon or work on with my technique, where having that extra time and often more individualized time because less people go on Saturdays, it could be beneficial.
Yeah, so there's definitely like two sides of the coin, right? Like you want to make sure you're staying healthy and taking care of your body, but at the same time, if it's an opportunity that could really benefit you, as Kristen was saying, you should definitely go for it. And as she just said, there generally isn't a lot of people who take class on the weekends because of the reasons that we just mentioned. So definitely carpe the diem or seize the day and just take advantage of everything that's there for you.
Yeah, and obviously every university is going to do things differently too. So it might not be weekend classes, but if they bring in a guest choreographer or do some sort of cool lecture or workshop, I know for us, I'm trying to recall what year, it's either our freshman or sophomore year, someone came in and taught us some William Forsythe repertoire. And that was a really cool opportunity. And some of those types of things, basically, we just had to sign up for ahead of time. There wasn't necessarily a cost, but there was a limited number of slots for those types of classes or workshops. So also just be ready to take advantage and sign up for those things quickly because sometimes there is a limited capacity.
Yeah, especially now in today's world, like who knows what's going to happen as far as capacity goes due to COVID. So if you can really
That's
hop
so
on,
true.
yeah, if you can really hop on those opportunities that you could really see yourself enjoying, go for it.
Yes, absolutely. And going off of that, there are other things to take advantage of that don't necessarily require any additional funding, such as an independent study. So I did an independent study my junior year at Mercyhurst. I was working towards earning more credits and electives for my dance pedagogy minor. And so I created essentially my own project or what they call independent study, where I went into a public middle school in Erie, PA, and I kind of shadowed and followed a dance teacher who was in charge of an after school dance program at the middle school. And over time, I began to kind of assistant teach and lead some of those classes. There was also a research based component where I interviewed some of the students and asked them to fill out surveys, in which I ended up kind of acquiring this consensus that this after school program specifically helped students do better academically at their school. And the reason for that being without going too too in depth into my research was just because of kind of the demographic that was at the school and the fact that in order to maintain their spot in this after school dance program, they had to maintain certain grades in their classes and also have certain attendance scores. So those were kind of incentives for them to do well in school so that they could keep dancing. But anywho, I really enjoyed this experience. I only did it for about 2 months, but I got a lot out of it, and like I said, it was free. I didn't have to pay anything for it, other than I guess you could say at the end of the day, I was paying for the credit because I did get credit for doing this independent study.
I would argue that this was a very unique experience to what you wanted out of your education. So, yes, you were paying for the credit, but I think it was so worth it to you, wouldn't you say?
Oh,
And
yes,
also, like
absolutely.
our professors, especially Miss Hunter, she ended up driving Kristen back and forth to her independent study, and so she also didn't have to pay for that. Like that's just out of the kindness of your professors' hearts when they're willing to help out students to achieve what they're going for in their education.
Absolutely. And the director of the program, or the teacher that I was shadowing, also was very kind and offered to drive me home every day. So I got a ride from Miss Hunter there and then a ride from the teacher I was working with on the way home. And this was just a very kind gesture. It was in the middle of winter, and while it technically was walking distance from Mercyhurst, it wouldn't have been so fun in the Erie cold. So I did greatly appreciate that, and I think basically kind of the moral of that is that when there's a will, there's a way. So seek out these different opportunities because this independent study wasn't just handed to me. It was something that I had to kind of initiate and take charge of. And there was a lot of paperwork and signatures involved, but really you have the opportunity to design your 4 years in a sense. Yes, there is a strict kind of curriculum that you must abide by or certain requirements in order to graduate with your degree. But also, that being said, there's a lot of flexibility and ways to personalize it that I don't think that everyone necessarily realizes.
Yeah, and I do think that's also particular of the school you go to, but I think as long as you're communicating and asking what you want, teachers are going to be very willing to help you get to where you want to be. And so I think she brings up a really good point. It's like if you know you're interested in something, just go for it and see what happens. The only response you'll get that could be negative is a no. And then you just go from there and keep pushing along. But if it's a yes, and you get to do this amazing experience like Kristen, so definitely go for it.
That made me think of Hannah in terms of clubs as well, because for us, we had a lot of different clubs available to us kind of specific to dance. I mean, there's lots of clubs on campus, but we had different things like dance club, to name one that was available to us as majors, but also non-majors. And those are all also free resources. And like Hannah was saying, if there's something you're interested in, go for it. And that goes with clubs too, because most schools you can start your own club with. I think at Mercyhurst, it was as little as 8 or 10 signatures of people who are interested, and then someone who would sign off to be your club advisor. So, really take advantage of and create opportunities for yourself for whatever you're interested in.
Definitely.
Moving on to internships, which I guess is similar in a way to an independent study in which you don't have to pay for an internship, although you are technically paying for the credit if you choose to do a credit-based internship, which you don't have to do. It once again depends on the requirements of your degree. But this is another really, really wonderful thing. I personally did an internship the summer of my junior year going into my senior year. I worked as an arts administration intern with the Orlando Ballet School down in good old Orlando, Florida. And this was a really amazing opportunity. I actually worked alongside one of our other peers from Mercyhurst, a good friend, Sarah. So that was really cool to have another Mercyhurst person with me down in Florida. And that was kind of an ironic situation because neither of us knew that we had applied and been accepted to this internship until I was reaching out to someone from Orlando Ballet about getting the contact information for the other interns to potentially look for housing. So that was kind of funny. And then I messaged Sarah and was like, "Hey, are you this Sarah that she just gave me the information for? Or is someone just happen to have the exact same name as you somewhere else?" So that was a funny coincidence.
Even going off of that, Kristen and Sarah lived at my cousin Rachel's house in Florida. And so
Yes.
Kristen knew me and I knew Rachel. And that was another really fun coincidence because she was able to stay at my cousin's house.
Yeah, that was kind of a whole just funny scenario, but once again, just really utilizing your resources and the people you know can get you far places. But that was really an amazing summer. I loved that experience so much. I worked probably over 200 hours with the Orlando Ballet School. It was an unpaid internship, but with unpaid internships, sometimes you receive a little additional stipend or some sort of travel reimbursements. So, at the end of the day, it can be feasible. It's hard sometimes to be working and spending so much time without earning money, but it is important to know that at the end of the day, most schools will not allow you to get credit for an internship if you are getting paid unless it's a stipend. So really it isn't just an investment in your education and your future, even though in the moment it can be kind of hard to validate working so much for what seems like nothing, but I promise it is for something.
I actually didn't do an internship over my 4 years just because it wasn't really feasible for what I wanted to do. But seeing what Kristen was doing and some of our other friends, I definitely would recommend an internship to anyone who is interested in it because, again, it's another really great learning experience and you get to communicate and be involved in another environment, maybe inside or outside of school. So, really take advantage of that as well.
Yeah, and internships can really be done once again dependent on your schedule, but during the school year or taking advantage of that time in the summer where you might not have as many commitments in order to get something like that done. And even after graduation, hey, go for an internship. There's no end date on them, really. You can always gain experience your whole life through doing internships.
Yeah, and it's also something you can add to your resume, and in the future when you're applying or auditioning for jobs, people will look and say, "Oh, hey, you did an internship with Orlando Ballet. That's really cool." That's a name that a lot of people know, and that will also help boost, your success in that company potentially.
Yeah, and in terms of references as well. I mean, I am fortunate that my boss from that internship is willing to be a reference for me. So I also appreciate that as well because down the road when I'm applying for other jobs, I have someone from that organization to attest for my work ethic and how I performed in that position.
Yeah, so it's a really great opportunity for sure. Speaking of other things similar to internships, I want to touch a little bit on like summer programs and workshops. Although I didn't do an internship, I did do a couple of summer programs. One actually with Kristen, we did the ABT Collegiate Summer Program in New York City for 3 weeks, which was a great experience. And we actually got college credit for it. And I know some other organizations and companies will allow college credit to be given as well. So that's also something you can add to your course load and get credit for it. So then maybe in the future, if you have something else going on, you already have those 3 credits or whatever it is to help supplement whatever else you want to do in the future. And of course, it has to do with if your university or college is a partner of the organization and if they will allow you to get credit. But luckily, Mercyhurst was for us, and that was such an awesome experience. And I also just wanted to say that I did a couple of modern workshops, one with the Jose Limon company, another one with Paul Taylor during my time at school. And those workshops were really wonderful. And I had to send in recommendations and other things like that. One was an audition video in order to be accepted into these programs and to get a scholarship potentially. So having the resources of, your professors and other people that you know in school can help you get into those programs that you want to do maybe in the future or over the summers. So that's something else I really found to be amazing in my 4 years at school.
I think what's really awesome about what Hannah did too is because our program was very much ballet based, but Hannah knew that she wanted to pursue modern and that this was a little bit more of a stronger passion of hers. And so she was able to seek out those opportunities during the summertime to really keep working on her modern work and strengthen that in what was basically a very heavy ballet program. So I thought that that was a really nice supplement to what she was already getting at Mercyhurst.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I also just want to say, like, as I was a freshman in school at Mercyhurst, knowing that I was in this heavy ballet based program, I did the first year of school and I was like, okay, I really like doing ballet. I like this. And then all of a sudden, when we started to do more modern with our professors at school, because we had to do other classes to supplement our entire curriculum, I was like, oh no, this is what I want to do as I go off as a professional dancer. And having our professors there to help guide me was really beneficial. Even though it was a ballet program, you can still find people that will help get you to where you want to be. So those
Yeah.
workshops were definitely a great supplement for me, and it helped me get to where I am today, I would say.
For sure. Yeah, I remember you loving those. I remember talking over the summer and you having summers and you having a really, really great experience. With summer programs as well, Hannah kind of briefly touched upon this, but they're really great because they can provide, if you're able to get college credit, they can provide some additional flexibility within your schedule during the actual academic school year. So, say you get injured or something unpredictable like that occurs, you have those extra credits to fall back on if your college does accept them. So, they're really a good asset in terms of that, in addition to just obviously continuing to train and stay in shape during that summer period. I do wanna mention that during my 4 years, I worked 2 summers as an RA with CPYB, Central Pennsylvania Youth Ballet. This was a really positive and great experience for me because it's a paid job, but I also got to train and take classes at the summer intensive. So CPYB is not the only one out there. There are plenty of, I know, at least ballet-based programs that offer opportunities like that. I believe Cincinnati Ballet, Milwaukee Ballet, a couple in Florida, I believe Next Generation Ballet, to
Modern
name a few. And yeah, and modern companies then as well, and possibly even other types of summer intensives. This is really great as a college student because I understand the financial challenge of dishing out a couple extra $1,000 during the summer when you're already paying so much during the school year for your college education. And not only dishing out additional money, some people need to be making money over the summer in order to help support their upcoming school year. So while they do not provide an enormous amount of money, it is something and it helps. So check out those types of opportunities as well.
Yeah, and it's all about experience and, you know, having things under your belt so then you can pull it out in the future.
Yeah, continuing to build your resume, all those
Mhm.
kinds of things, networking.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I know networking is something I think we'll probably touch more on at the end of our episode, but this everything that we've covered so far, it really is about the people that you know and the connections that you're making inside as well as outside of school. So again, we'll talk about that later, but I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah. With that being said, should we take a short break, Hannah?
Sure thing. Here's a word from our sponsor. Long time no see, Frack. How was your break?
It was splendid, just caught up with you on some life things, but not like we don't talk enough already. How was your break?
Oh, it was great, you know. I hope that all of you, if you're experiencing the cold weather, are hanging in there because that's also something we just talked about.
Yes, indeed. Stay safe, stay warm, friends.
Yes, because it is shiver me timbers weather, as Kristen would say.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Well, segueing into our next topic, we are going to discuss some different organizations you can become a member of. And with that being said, conferences and different kind of events you can attend. So, I want to talk a little bit about the organization NDEO. So, NDEO stands for the National Dance Education Organization. It's a nonprofit organization supporting dance education and dance in the US, generally speaking. It is a membership service organization that supports dance teachers with programs and services. So, we had the option during our time at Mercyhurst to become members of NDEO. I know Hannah and I both were. And I can speak to say, and I think you would agree with this too, Hannah. I honestly didn't use our NDEO membership a whole ton during our undergrad experience. Although I renewed my membership this year and am a graduate member now at NDEO, and I am using this resource a lot more now. So there's pros and cons to it at the undergraduate level. There is a fee with it every year, but they do post a lot of helpful things if you really do dive deep and actually utilize it. Right now, I've been utilizing it in terms of looking for free workshops and webinars that I can attend, as well as job postings. They post job opportunities all of the time. That being said, some of them are more geared towards higher education and specifically the education field within dance, but there's just so much knowledge available through NDEO. There's also the NDEO conference, which we did have students attend during our 4 years at Mercyhurst. So our lovely Professor Solveig Santillano would often fly to wherever the conference was occurring that year because it takes place all around the country, a different location each year, and she'd usually take along a few students with her. I had actually wanted to attend NDEO during my time at Mercyhurst, but it just never really was feasible. It was in different places like Washington, D.C. or Miami, places where you typically would have to fly to from Erie, and it was a little bit pricey. It just didn't really work out for me. But I did attend the NDEO virtual conference on scholarship this year through NYU, and it was a really wonderful experience. I attended sessions starting from Thursday through Sunday. They had so many different topics available. I attended things such as conversations on disability and dance, conversations on racial inequity in dance organizations, gender in dance organizations, all kinds of really interesting and relevant topics. I had a wonderful experience and would recommend that.
Yeah, and I know that you really enjoyed those experiences because, as you just stated, I mean, you and I talk a lot, and even though I haven't seen you in like what 8 or 9 months in person, I do know how important this virtual experience was for you. So, if you can take advantage of conferences and different projects like that, again, it's another great way to build your network and to just see what's out there, and to see what the dance community has to offer right now.
Yeah, and for next year, I know that they were slated to have the next NDEO conference in, I believe, the Seattle, Washington area or somewhere out there on the West Coast. But with COVID, it is now going to be virtual again, which, you know, there's pros and cons to that, but it does make it more accessible. Accessible in terms of travel and accessible financially. So, everyone listening, no matter what stage you are in life, if you're going to be entering your undergrad, if you are already in college, if you've graduated already, whomever you are, I recommend taking advantage of this virtual option, as perhaps that will never be an option again. Who knows?
Yeah, that's a really good point.
So, an umbrella under NDEO is NHSDA, which stands for the National Honor Society of Dance Arts. This recognizes outstanding artistic merit, leadership, and academic achievement. NHSDA is an organization that starts in kindergarten and goes through grade 12, which I actually never knew. This was new knowledge to me as I was kind of trying to dive a little bit deeper into the origins and kind of what NHSDA is, even though we, graduated with honors through NHSDA.
But you get a pretty gold cord and a little medal-y thing. It's really cool.
Yeah. So you can be a member of NHSDA from a younger age, but there's also a collegiate program, and that's what Hannah and I participated in. So at our school, we kind of kept track of all of our different endeavors related to dance and academically speaking. And by the end of our 4 years, we were able to graduate with honors through NHSDA based off of all of these different things we took on.
Yeah, and I just want to mention every year too, the president and was it a vice president? The two people in charge of NHSDA that were students, they ended up organizing a annual banquet, yep, where we had a guest speaker come in and then we also had some really great food. And we all kind of got together and it was a great way that the organization kind of met up outside of our normal meeting hours. And so it was also a really just nice experience, I think, for everyone involved. And that's something
Yeah.
to do with
I
any.
don't know if every chapter has such a nice banquet as we did, because that was such a lovely banquet at the Whole Foods Co-op. Such good food, such good food. But it did also provide a sense of community, I think, for us. It was another just kind of sub subgroup within our larger dance family we have or had at Mercyhurst.
Hmm. I agree.
A shared experience that both Hannah and I had that we can talk about a little bit is our experience with ACDA. So ACDA stands for American College Dance Association, and they aim to affirm dance in higher ed through regional conferences, which we attended, the adjudication process, and national festivals. So Hannah and I attended with our roommate and friend Stacy the conference that was in the Westchester, Pennsylvania area. We rehearsed a couple different pieces and got the opportunity to perform and have those pieces adjudicated. And we also participated all weekend in classes, workshops, and got to watch a lot of other performances, student performers, as well as some guests that they brought in for the event.
Yeah, that was such a fun time. Although, do you remember the stress that we went in going, or like the stress that went into actually performing at ACDA?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
I think
Hannah is referring to the fact that we kind of threw these pieces together very last minute and had very little time to actually rehearse, which any of you dancers out there, I'm sure you've had this experience at one time or another and can attest to the stress behind it. And I think especially too, because we knew that we were being adjudicated. So we were going to be getting scores and comments. Meanwhile, we were all just kind of on edge, even just remembering the choreography and knowing the timing and just all these basic things that we shouldn't be worrying about the day of a performance.
yeah, and it was like a 10-minute piece or something. Like it wasn't that short. Like we had to do
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah.
I even remember, I think the day of the traveling to and from Mercyhurst to the actual location, I think we had a rehearsal like in that morning, the morning of or something, like something ridiculous like that. Like, it was just,
Yeah.
it was funny, but it ended up being a great experience regardless.
It was a really great experience. And I personally really enjoyed the classes and all were great, but I really loved watching students from other schools perform. For me, that was a big highlight. Really was.
Yeah, it was also nice because our professors also knew the other professors or faculty within ACDA. And so that was nice too because you were able to see them meet up with their old friends and just kind of it was just such a camaraderie, I don't know, within the dance community. It was just really interesting to witness all of that. And as you said, I also really enjoyed watching the other dancers perform. And I think it gave me kind of a sense of what I could do with choreography. Like at that point, we were still young sophomores and we didn't
Mm.
really have that many chances to choreograph at that point. And just seeing all of the different pieces, especially that one with the feathers. Do you remember that?
Yes,
It was just stunning. And I'm really glad that we went.
absolutely. And this is one of the things, along with the last few things that we've discussed, such as summer programs and being a member of NDO and graduating with honors. These do all require a payment, right? But they're also they're an investment in your future. And if it's something that you can afford and you can do and it works for your schedule, it's definitely worth taking advantage of. And I know that actually Mercyhurst was supposed to host, I believe, the next regional conference of ACDA. I think that was supposed to be for this spring, but obviously with COVID, I'm sure there's nothing occurring in person. I don't know if they're doing any kind of online option,
Yeah,
but
especially
that's unfortunate. But maybe Mercyhurst will get another shot down the road.
yeah, especially because what makes me kind of sad about that is going to these conferences, you get to meet so many people and you get to dance with all these new people. And now that we don't have the conference in person, it's just not the same at all. So yeah, I do wonder what they ended up doing for ACDA this year.
Yeah, we might have to
Yeah.
investigate into that further because I'm curious as well now. So another option that might be available, key point, might be available is study abroad programs. So as Hannah and I had introduced from our episode 1, we had the lovely opportunity to study abroad in Dungarvan, Ireland for half a semester with some of our other fellow dancers from Mercyhurst, as well as students from the general population, aka non-dancers from Mercyhurst. And this was one of the most amazing opportunities I think any of us have ever gotten. And it is, I would say, somewhat rare to be able to study abroad as a dance major, at least during the academic year. But I think that many schools really do offer summer abroad opportunities. I know that, for example, the University of Utah offers a couple, I think, few week programs in Europe during the summer. I've heard of other schools. I think Butler offers a couple programs in Europe for a few weeks at a time as well during the summertime. So I think summer is maybe kind of more likely than the school year, but you just never know. And so keep your eyes out for these kinds of opportunities, because not only is it an amazing and enhancing experience in terms of your dance life and being able to kind of broaden your horizons culturally in terms of dance if there's a deep connection there, but also just it's enriching in terms of you as a human being. Traveling is so amazing. And I know many of us, most of us hopefully, are not really traveling at this very moment in time. But when it does become available again, more accessible, look out for these opportunities.
Yeah, I just want to say that this experience that we had was probably like one of the highlights in my entire 22, almost 23 years of living on Earth. Like, it was just incredible for all the different reasons that Kristen just brought up, but also I think we got so much closer to our faculty and even the other students, like the non majors, the non dance majors on the trip as well. It was just so gratifying because
Mm-hmm.
we were all this like little group traveling together, and we got to not only be in Dungarvan, but we traveled to all these other different amazing places too. So, we got to dance, we got to eat all this new food, we got to meet all these new people, and we were immersed in other cultures, and it was just incredible. So yeah, highly recommend either trying to do a study abroad program if it's offered to you, or even if your college or university offers like a week or two trip or performance maybe with
Yes.
the university.
Yes, which that's something I got to do my freshman year. I did a week abroad in England. I almost actually forgot about that. I don't know how. I think just because it feels like so long ago. And like you said, Hannah, I think we're constantly just reliving our time in Ireland because it was so special. And that was a little bit more recent. So it's something still very very much on the mind. My experience in England was also absolutely amazing. I mean, it was only a week, but it was a week filled with so much. And it was quite honestly a perfect trip. Like, perfect trips don't always happen, but it was a perfect trip. We spent our first half of the week in Norwich, England, in which we performed a liturgical dance concert. We rehearsed for that a couple months prior. It was a full concert, even though it was a smaller group of dancers. And that was really cool to have the opportunity to perform abroad. And then we got to spend the rest of the week just kind of gallivanting around London for a few days since we were already out there. But it was really, really amazing week. So something like a 1 week trip might be a little bit more feasible, or performance opportunity like that. But even that short amount of time is so worth it.
Invaluable. It really
Mhm.
is. I feel like it enriches you as a human for sure.
Yeah. And I also got to do, speaking of travel, this is a much smaller thing in regards to travel, but not as a whole. I got to participate in Project Dance my senior year in Pittsburgh. So Pittsburgh is really, really not too far from Erie, but I haven't actually been to Pittsburgh that many times considering how close it is. And so it was nice to have yet another weekend in Pittsburgh and to get to see a few more things and explore around. But we also performed on a stage right in the middle of this big central area. I'm blanking on the name now, in Pittsburgh, but it was really cool to be performing on an outdoor stage. I really enjoyed that. And if those of you are not familiar with Project Dance usually occurs in Times Square in New York City, But then there are also kind of these sub locations around the country, so such as the Pittsburgh one. And I'm really glad to have participated in that as well. Yet again, just another performing opportunity, and I will take advantage of all the performing opportunities that come my way.
Yeah, and we hope you guys do too, whoever's listening. Really take advantage of everything.
Yes. So to kind of wind things down, wrap things up, we want to just kind of talk about just some general overarching things that are really important during your college experience, such as just balance, taking care of yourself, making these connections, all of these things that are just very critical to your overall experience. Do you have anything you want to kind of say about that, Hannah?
Yes, I just want to say time management is a huge thing, and you have to have time to dance and to do your academics and homework, but also you want to really enjoy your experience and be present. So, as much as things might seem stressful in the moment, you're not going to remember it potentially many years down the road. So, really just have fun and be with your friends and enjoy your experience because it goes by really, really fast. And also, I just wanted to bring up again, networking is super, super important when you're out of college and you're in the real world. You want to make sure that you develop really strong relationships with your peers and your professors and other adults within your college or just the dance community in general. And so by going to these conferences and workshops and summer programs and internships and all of the things that we just mentioned, that allows you to build your network. Because if you end up having a strong connection with certain people, they might be able to help you down the road and only enhance your job or open more doors for you in the future. So I cannot emphasize that enough because it really is about who you know and just being a good person. You want to be a good dancer, a great performer, but you also want to be a really nice and humble human being. And that's really what people are looking for too when they want to hire you. So that's something I really took away from school.
I'm now adding my colored highlighter. I'm drawing giant arrows. I'm circling Hannah's statement. That is all very, very important. And I think that honestly, I'm living that right now. I don't mean, oh, I'm living this humble, wonderful life. Don't mean that. I like to be humble. I try, but in regards to Hannah's note on connections. So even though I am at NYU now and I'm building these newer connections there, I also am still relying on the connections that I have from Mercyhurst. And actually, as I'm trying to kind of work through and figure out my career for next year upon beyond graduation, I actually have been reaching out to some people from Mercyhurst and asking for their advice and asking for some guidance and questions on different experiences they've had. So even as you move forward and advance your career, you still always have those connections to fall back on if you've kind of built them strong enough, which is really great.
And the dance community is so small.
So small, so small. But also, just what Hannah was mentioning, it's really important to actually find some time to enjoy your experience, to be present, to have fun with friends. There's a need for balance amidst all of the craziness and all of the hard work you're putting in. So whether it be your dance friends or maybe even people outside of the dance department, find some time to relax, hang out with friends, take care of your mental health, self-care. If you need to take advantage of any wellness resources on campus, such as counseling center or any other additional resources that might be available, and once again are likely free, you should definitely take advantage during your 4 years. At the end of the day, you're really paying for all of these services already through just paying tuition. So why not actually take advantage of these resources and get your money's worth? There's no shame at all. We want to work on breaking that stigma.
Yes.
To really just
Mental
take
health.
care of yourselves, friends.
Yes. Mental health is just important as your physical health. So.
And I really think on that note, I think Hannah, you covered it all in terms of of balance and preparing for your future. Just, seek out those mentors, seek out those people that speak to your soul or seem to understand you well. Reach out beyond your department and try to collaborate with other departments, as we kind of touched upon a little bit during our discussion on choreography. There's a lot to take advantage of during your 4 years or however long you complete your degree. And carpe all the diems, friends.
Yeah, and if you didn't know, that's our
It's our motto.
Our motto. I always blank on some of these words. Thank you, Kristen. Our motto, carpe diem, seize the day, and that's just so important for anyone living their lives. So seize the day, everyone.
Yes, we hope we have brought some helpful insight to the table. Once again, feel free to reach out to us if you have even any personal questions in terms of your college dance journey. Stay well, friends. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Abundance. We appreciate your support. We hope to have PK'd your interest. Feel free to contact us at abundancepodcast5678@gmail.com and give us feedback on what you'd like to hear. That is abundance without parentheses. Go dance yourself silly. Bye for now.
A special thank you to Richard D. Fiore for our lovely podcast tune and my wonderful boyfriend, Matt Mellish, for our cover art.